our traumas are actually designed, when we overcome our traumas, they are our calling of how we can serve humanity. Right? I didn't share this part, but at one point in my life, and it wasn't even that long ago, I lost all of my money. I bought two restaurants and I lost it all. I lost the restaurant, my car was repoed, I lost my house. You know, I couldn't pay for my cell phone bill. Verizon was too expensive, $200 a month. Always encourage, never criticize. And so I bring that to my coaching.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Fit and Frugal podcast. I am your host, Tawni. You can find me on IG at Tawni Stores. I have here with me my friend Alex, who's going to talk a little bit about what he does.
Hey, thank you. Thank you so much for having me on this podcast. It's an honor to be here. So I am a life coach and I'm also a mentor in the multifamily space. I invest in multifamily and in real estate in general. And I teach people how to create financial freedom, set themselves up to, to thrive when it comes to that. Yeah.
Cool. How long have you been here in Vegas?
I've been in Vegas for about a year and a half. And I moved here just at the end of, or the beginning of 2021.
Cool. Where did you move from?
So I lived in Peru actually the year before that. During COVID, I actually lived in Peru. And it's a funny story because, I lived in Florida before that, but I met my wife in this personal development training. And, she's Canadian, so she's not a US citizen. And when COVID happened, actually right around that time, I was selling my two houses in Florida so that we can go on a road trip together. So I bought this RV, and it's kind of like a dream for me to travel the country in an RV and live that way for a little bit just to see everything. So we had put a down payment on the RV. We had both houses set to close on a whatever morning that was, and she was going to fly back from Canada. But she had spent too much time here in the States before that, so they didn't let her cross the border. They're like, okay, well, you can't come back to the States.
So she's technically a citizen because the 51%?
No, so she's not. Well, we weren't married at the time. So we were still dating, and we wanted to travel the country. I wanted to propose to her somewhere nice, and she couldn't come back to the States. I couldn't go to Canada because the border was closed. They didn't let anybody in, and I had both of my houses sold. And I called her and I was like, "Hey, is what time are you getting in? I'm gonna go pick up the RV that I had a down payment on. I'm gonna come pick you up. I bought a truck too. I bought a truck just so that we can do this whole thing. And so here I am with literally all my stuff packed in the back of my truck. My dog is in my back seat, and I kind of sat there, didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
So we just picked. And life is about like being able to pivot and maneuver. I think being flexible and allowing life to come to you is something that I strive to live by. And so we were looking, we're like, where can we go?
Yeah.
Like we can fly to another country, right? We just now I got a truck. I'm going to lose my deposit on this RV. So fine, lesson learned. But the most important thing was, where does my truck go and where does my dog go? If we're going to leave the country. So the only two places that were open was the Bahamas, Peru, or Mexico. Those were the three choices that we had.
Yeah.
And we had a buddy down in Peru, so we wanted to go and visit him anyways. And so we, literally dropped my dog off at her friend's place in New York. So I drove from Florida to New York, dropped my dog off, dropped my car off, and I just bought this truck. So now my dog and my car cost me about $1,800 a month.
Just to park it.
Just to park it and to have somebody watch my dog for 2 months. That's what we were going to do. We didn't know how long COVID was going to last.
Yeah.
So we went to Peru and we just loved it. I mean, we weren't in a big city or anything. We were in Pisac, this little town right outside of Cusco in Peru. And literally it was like a village. It was definitely very third world. But, being around this... There's a thing about being around people that are making so little and still being able to be happy and then being able to just enjoy the environment. We were surrounded by mountains and, everybody was so friendly and nice and kind. And so we decided that we were going to stay longer. And we stayed there for about 9 months, nine plus months. And we were actually going to move down there for good. So that's where I was in Peru. And then when we came back, I saw this is a story that, that really impacted me. It's I went to Publix and I saw like this 85-year-old woman who was my cashier. And I was kind of angry and sad at the same time. I was like, we're in the wealthiest country in the world and we've failed our elders.
Yeah.
And like,
There's an 85-year-old working.
Yeah, and like Asian cultures, like we don't really have our parents working at a supermarket or anything, like we will take, like for me personally, like me and my sister, we take care of my mom. And she's never going to be working at a Walmart.
Yeah.
So there's just something there's a gap somewhere where, our society, the way that we've taught people to invest our money is just, it's not working.
Yeah.
And there's so many people there. And I started to see the elderly in Walmart, in CVS, like everywhere. And I was like, I have a duty. I've created a certain level of financial freedom for myself where I don't have to worry for me and my wife. And how come I'm able to do this and they aren't?
Yeah.
Right. So there's just a lack of education somewhere. And I committed myself to teaching. And then when I went back to Peru, I started teaching, and then there was just kind of a calling to come back to the States. So we came back, and we decided to move to Vegas, where we had a bunch of properties here too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did your Peru trip change the relationship? Like, because you said you met at a personal development conference.
So it's a training, it's kind of like, it's called gratitude training, and it's very Tony Robbins like. Tony Robbins came from a place called, oh my God, what is it called? LifeSpring. So, these trainings were around for a long time, but it's basically, it's looking at your stories, your limiting beliefs, and being able to change those things. And so we met in that training program, and kind of the rest is history. And we're married now and happy here in Vegas.
Yeah, it's kind of good because you can actually pick up your things and go, which is a lot of people don't have that option either.
Yeah.
It's because when you mentioned pivot and, I would imagine if it wasn't your wife now, if it's another girl that comes here expecting to be put in a house in a traditional, car, whatever, and they show up and they're like, why is all your things in a Sprinter van? Like, that's actually one of my dreams too. Like to be next year,
I think there's a calling for all of us as human beings to want to just be free.
Yeah.
And somehow in our society we've just trapped ourselves into these jobs.
That's good that you got out of the American matrix for a little bit. That's what I call it too. There's a lot of other entrepreneurs that I know that are married, and then once they make a certain amount of money, once they've hit their numbers, they're like in Bali right now, they're in Vietnam, and I've looked into
that's
those
the dream.
too.
That's the dream. I think that's the spirit of entrepreneurship is to break free from this game. This money game.
Yeah, and that's really powerful that the 85-year-old, like, how did that change? Did that create a sort of like fire in you to create? Is that how Legends was created?
Yeah, so Legends. So
I'm trying to wrap that around.
Legends Mastermind I founded Legends Mastermind, and it is around learning how to create financial freedom through multifamily investing. But it's more than that. Like, we really care about the relationships that they have. So I bring relationship coaches in, I bring personal development coaches in, and it's a kind of whole life type of thing. So actually pretty much. There was a demand for it. I started doing these calls, and it provided a lot of value for people, and they wanted to know what was next. How did they get more of me? How did they get, more access to me? And, what can I do to help them? And for me personally, if I can help people save time, that is my goal. If I can just like share some of my mistakes and my experiences with people that can shorten the time frame in which they get to where I'm at, then that's what I want to do, for people. So there was a demand for it, and then I just kind of put it together. I kind of, usually I let a lot of things come to me organically, and I just see what the calling is in life, and I respond.
I kind of sense that energy the minute you said like you had this responsibility when you kind of viewed it. And it's kind of funny that we come from an Asian culture, and of course, like I I don't know how to explain it, but like even my parents, like they're working because they're choosing to, but we own our businesses.
Yeah.
And they're just like, well, if we retire, then we're bored. I'm like, yeah, buddy. What are you gonna do, right?
That's the trap, though.
That's the
Your
trap.
identity becomes your
Yeah.
job.
Yeah.
You know, so without your job, then who are you?
Yeah,
You know,
because I'm like,
that's the
hey,
trap.
our rentals are cash flowing. Like, you guys technically don't even have to work. Like, we have all of these things, but I think it comes down to understanding the time because they're so attached to their achievement and their ownership in the business that I don't think they understand entrepreneurship. Because I kind of told them, I was like, you are an entrepreneur, but you bought yourselves jobs that you decide to stay in and you won't let go of control. And they're still in it. And they're like, oh, but we're happy here. I'm like, dude, you work so much.
You know, on some level,
Yeah.
when people are there and they're at a certain age and that's what they're doing, like we just kind of have to let them run their course, you know?
Yeah.
But us being younger, we can change this thinking.
Yeah.
You know, the entire generation can change. And that's why I think like us being young and being entrepreneurs, like we get to break this chain of attaching our identities to our jobs or a career or to money or our status. And we get to find like who we are besides all that stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and that requires traveling and seeing other cultures and, you know, exploring, being able to do things. And and part of that is you got to break free from the money game in order to do that.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, wherever you go, you would still bring your limitations about money to that place.
That's true.
Right. So
yeah,
I think it's about breaking free. And that's my journey, and that's what I want to inspire and motivate people to do. And being on this podcast, if I can do that and land it for one person out here that's watching, then awesome. I've completed my mission being here.
Yeah, because when I first started, I didn't really understand the premise of how I wanted to go about with this podcast. And it kind of comes back down to like my core values, like the roots, the grassroots reasons why I want to do a podcast, right? It's about really connecting with people. I taught for about a year, like I taught at college. I was a college dropout at 18. So when I went back to teach, I didn't graduate until I was like 30. I did it for my parents because they didn't know I dropped out. So they found out like 6 years later. They're like, hey, where's your college degree? I'm like, oh, funny story. I don't have one. I don't have one, right?
Yeah.
But I think when I went back to it, I'm like, what is it that I want to do and what is my mission? I wanted to do something mission and purpose driven and like what I'm put on this earth to do, right? And it's not about the money anymore. And it's more about better quality of life, right? And building holistic wealth. And most people think of wealth as like a really tangible thing, which is assets, money, you know, luxury items, houses, cars, and all of those things. But it comes down to, I think my most tangible thing that we have is relationships and time.
Yeah.
You know, that's the two things that I think at the core like really means something valuable to me. It's because in my 20s, I traded all of that for money.
Yeah.
Right? I went kind of like not the rat race, but like the anti-rat race where I didn't realize that's what I was doing. I was burning out. I'm like chasing money in my bank account. I didn't see anyone. I didn't talk to anyone. Like, how would you describe your quality of life in terms of being financially free? Like, how does that have an impact on your relationships?
You know, I think being financially free, like most people do think directly right to money, right? Like, all right, how much money is it going to be? Like on some level, yes, you want to have your goal, you want to create enough passive income so you don't have to worry. But financially free, like that freedom itself is a mindset. You know, knowing that every time you're working towards something that you're learning and that you will never go backwards if you learn. Like if you gained knowledge, like no, that can't be taken away from you. Like I know that no matter what, I will not return back to a job because of what I've learned and what I've been able to create in my life. Like even if I lost everything, I would be able to come back strong, because like you said, the relationships that I've built, I don't think people will let me fail, right? Like I think what I understand about life and about investments and business and all of those things, I can create something else, and I don't need money to do it.
Yeah.
Like I didn't share this part, but at one point in my life, and it wasn't even that long ago, I lost all of my money. I bought 2 restaurants and I lost it all. I lost the restaurant, my car was repoed, I lost my house. You know, I couldn't pay for my cell phone bill. Verizon was too expensive, $200 a month. And when I finally called it quits, it was hard, you know, and I get how money impacts people, but it doesn't have to be like who you are if you failed. Like you don't have to take that with it. So, you know, I went through a lot of challenges, and it was really dark time in my life because I was like, what am I going to do? I was literally living, I moved down to Florida from New Jersey at that time. And I literally was living in a room where my bed comes down and the front door can't open because that's how small of a little space I was living in.
A Murphy.
Yeah, like a Murphy bed came down, you know, and it couldn't even been more than 200 square feet. Like that's how small it was. And I had a 95-pound dog that lived with me.
What kind of dog do you have?
I got a cane corso.
Oh.
So, you know, she's big and she needs space, and I'm big and I need space, and I'm living in this tiny place. And I was like, I don't see a way out because my credit score was a 400. I was like 400,000 in debt. And, you know, I didn't have a job. I didn't have nothing. And, you know, from there, you know, I had to really reinvent myself and change my relationship to money, change my relationship to like what other people thought about me. I had to like put that aside, you know, and I went to a conference. This is, if I could give anybody like one tip, one advice today is like, invest in yourself, go to conferences because you get to meet people, you get to hear inspirational and motivational speakers and learn something from there. Learn something that you can take away that will change your life forever. So I went to Chris Crohn's conference, and that was in Utah, and I learned about partnerships. And I never thought about partnerships in real estate. And I was like, wait, so you mean to tell me that I could do real estate without any of my own money? I don't need to put my finances on the line to get a loan. I don't need to get that myself. And all I have to do is run the deal. Yeah, I could do that. I know real estate. You know, that's kind of how I made it to even being able to buy my restaurants. So I started putting together little real estate meetups where I teach people about real estate. And it was like single family at the time, like super basic. And one person in the room decided, yeah, I'll invest with you, $46,000. And he put himself on the loan, and we got a house here in Las Vegas, in Henderson.
Oh, wow.
And that house just like killed it. We cashed out that thing twice. And now he's in multiple deals with me. He's introduced a bunch of people to me. They've introduced people. So I've grown like my real estate portfolio really fast. And it was like, I think in a matter of like 4.5 years, 5 years, I went from, you know, rock bottom, you know, having nothing to making about $20,000 a month in cash flow. And I was like, wow, if I can do this, everybody can do this.
Yeah.
You know, and but it doesn't require the how to do it. It requires a change of mindset. You know, the whole thing has to change.
That's amazing that you're able to share like negative. Well, it's close to like $500,000, right?
Yeah, I mean, I just actually paid that debt off last year.
How long did that take you? About 5 years?
5.5, 6 years.
5.5, 6 years. How did you go about
$3,000 a month.
Was it to a debt collector or what?
So it was a combination of to debt collection and also to personal loans. Yeah. So I mean, that's, you know, I couldn't make a whole payment, but I could make monthly payments.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's what's important is like we make agreements, and if you meet up with your agreements, like even though you failed your business, I actually created more credibility with my lenders by creating a new agreement and living it and meeting it for 5 years. You know, I was depositing this trust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I know that we connected over a lot of philanthropy work too, like how you say that it's impacted the way you look at people and like the things you want to do for people. And I kind of really like was it on a shirt? I think it was on a shirt, right? Your guys' shirt that I was reading. And I think it just happened. Yeah, the Legends shirt. I think I was just standing there. I kind of spaced out, and like I think you or someone that was wearing it stood in front of me. And it just like clicked, and I kind of read it. And I was just like, holy shit, who is this person?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so tell me more about the things that you want. Do you see Vegas as a place that you want to spend more time here? What do you want to do here?
Well, I think I love like art and creativity and you know, people that are in that space. And Vegas is where people are, everything that people do, they're mastering it. You know, like the restaurants, the chefs, the cooks, they're masters at what they do. The shows, these Cirque du Soleil performers, they are masters.
Yeah.
You know, they are insane what they can do, and just be able to watch and see like the type of work that people put into just that one thing. You know, and then just the excellence that goes into all the things that are done in Vegas. I love that energy.
Yeah.
And I love that everybody comes here.
Yeah.
You know, like I have friends all the time coming here. I've watched the Michael Jackson show like 5 times.
Oh, really?
Just because I love it so much, and I'm sitting there watching people that I bring to the show, how much they love it, you know, because it's just so great. So I love that energy, and when people come here, it's almost like, you know, they just want to release and be a new version of themselves. And so I like the energy here. You know, but of course, wherever you go, you can find charitable and meaningful work to do. So yeah, I think working with the youth is something that I really want to be doing. You know, I want to be able to impact the next generation.
Youth is under 18, like young adults type? Or?
Yeah, I kind of don't have an age on that because I have people that I'm like mentoring that are like 23, but I think it's a certain, like before you go and go career in a W-2 job. I call all of that youth.
Okay.
You know, I don't know. Maybe somebody's like 30 still doing that. That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but you know, definitely under 18 is something that I'm, you know, I'm passionate about. Like I'm going to be working with the foster homes here in Vegas. Like I have to take a 50-hour class.
Oh, really?
To actually be a mentor in there. So yeah, I'm going to be doing that. And all of my businesses should be, you know, everything I do, I think about if a troubled teen was looking at what I'm doing, would they feel inspired? And if they are, that's my avatar right there. You know, everybody else, it's like, it's cool. You know, like people love what I do. They love the message that I have. But it's like, I'm speaking to those teens. Yeah. Because I don't want them to turn out to be like the 85-year-old lady at Publix. So that's like, if I can just do things in my life that inspires them, motivates them, gives them an opportunity, then yeah, that's like my mission.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like what I say is like, I want to be the person I needed when I was younger. So I think I kind of grew up as a delinquent or a degenerate or whatever you call it, right? The people that kind of took really wrong turns and like went on their own bumpy roller coaster.
Yeah, and look at you, you're doing great.
You know? And I think it's questionable, right, on what the youth has to offer us, is because when I was teaching like these 18-year-olds, they just have so much love to give, and they're just so structured, institutionalized, because I was teaching at a Cal State and they're freaking out because I taught a semester before COVID hit. So I was teaching and going to school during COVID, like the COVID university, like had my own 5 classes, and then I was teaching too. Yeah. So we're all panicking together. We're all like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah. And how interesting, like what kind of institution is put into place where they have teachers that are just as confused as students? Yeah. You know, and then we're supposed to teach this curriculum that does what?
And it was funny because I was teaching communication studies. It's a hybrid course with public speaking. Public speaking is my fucking greatest fear. Till this day, like I still do a lot of things where I'm speaking in public and, you know, on stage and stuff like that. But I'm sweating just as much as I was when I was, 2015 when I decided to face that fear. And some of these students, they're like, what should my speech be about? I'm like, just be you. I was like, you teach me what you want to teach me. They're like, oh, like there's this whole course of like allowed topics. So my class was a little different because I really wanted to show them that like, hey, you can be an entrepreneur. If you want to teach me about day trading or stocks, that's what their speech was about. It was like some really random stuff. I'm like, what are you passionate about? And this kid, he was just like, investing. I was like, no way, tell me more. He was like, do you know who Warren Buffett is? I was like, I fucking do. Like, I was like, I have his books. Like, what do you want to teach us? And like his whole thing, like you can tell his eyes kind of light up and he was talking about things, right? Versus some of the students where they're really shy and they're like, I'm going to teach you about, I don't know, some of the topics, but it's like, like once they put their heart and passion into it, like you can actually feel it. So when you're teaching, like as a life coach, how do you see that light in others? Like, do you kind of sense that like you're empowering them, or by your messages that they're getting empowered?
So first, I'm like you, where I was kind of like a black swan or black goose, whatever it is.
We're the black sheep of Asians.
The black sheep, right, of the family.
Yeah.
We did not go that traditional route. Like I spent 11 years in college. Okay, so that's how I was Van Wildering in college.
Oh, shit.
I was there for 4 presidential elections. Okay, so, you know, and I turned out okay. You know, I'm very proud of the person that I've become today. And I think my mom and my dad was still here. He would definitely be as well. And so I see everybody that way, like, okay, you're on your journey. Even if you're taking the wrong path right now, or you
don't know it's wrong.
I don't know it's wrong.
Yeah.
So, you know, the first thing about coaching is that I have to remove myself from this coaching relationship. Like my judgment's out the door. There is no right or wrong. Like you go wherever you want. And I don't know what movie I watched, but this guy was asking somebody else about how to be a good father. And he was like, you're gonna mess up. You're gonna screw up. But if you can remember one thing and you do this more often than not, then you'll be fine. So the one thing was always encourage, never criticize. And so I bring that to my coaching, you know, like because sometimes coaches want to lead people to where they think is best for them. But we have no clue. We don't know what's best for them. They got to follow their own path.
Yeah.
You know, but we can show them, we can have them look at themselves like, is this a right decision? You know.
Yeah.
Everybody is geniuses already. You know, everybody already knows. There's no need for me to tell somebody how to do something or what they should or shouldn't do because they already know inside.
Yeah.
You know, and it's to inspire that spark that you are your answer. And if I can coach people to trust their own instincts and follow their passion, you know, I think that's life coaching for me.
Yeah. Because I think a lot of times people ask for advice to somebody that they feel is doing better than them. And a lot of times I don't think they needed the advice. They just needed someone to hear what they're saying, right? Like everyone wants to be seen and understood and heard. But a lot of advice, like you said, like there's no empathy in it. Like there's no compassion in that person's shoes. I think the person giving the advice is always like, this is what I would do, is because they're trying to listen to that for themselves. And I think advice giving is more perspective taking. It's like, I don't know what I would do if I was you, but here's another perspective. Like I can see things that you can't because you're kind of blinded by like this dusty layers around like your light. Because I think everyone does have a light that you said, like it's just kind of dim sometimes. Like when people go through their darkness, they just need someone else to see their light and kind of give it back to them, you know, kind of reflect that back to them. And I think I learned that the hard way too, kind of moving here. I moved here like 3 months into COVID, right? And I wasn't involved in the community. I wasn't in real estate. So I came here and I isolated. You know what I'm saying? So that was like my dark stage because like I like lost a lot of money too. So I'm like, I'm just going to get out of California, try to make it here. And I got here and it was worse because I'm like trying to.
Now you're in the middle of COVID, everything's shut down. And it's like, what?
I came here like, what am I going to do with my life?
Yeah.
And I started having all of those like broken foundational layers that was never healthy to begin with. It started cracking, right? Like the foundation of the house, it just started falling apart on me. Like health, financial, like everything, it started reflecting back to me, right? Of the person that I became after all of these years of all these bad decisions. I'm like, holy crap, like who am I? Like if there's no money or there's no wealth, if there's no tangible things, who am I as a person? And I kind of sat there and I was just like, fuck, like I shouldn't have moved here, but I can't go back because this is an ego thing. I can't call my parents because I haven't even lived with them when I was in California because I've been out of the house for a long time and I can't go backwards. Like what am I gonna do with my life? Yeah, so I think that's really powerful that you're able to kind of show others like the path that you know they're on. Like how do you feel that you've integrated health into your life, and like do you think a lot of it has to do mental health and mindset? Is it synonymous?
It's funny because this is kind of a conversation that my wife and I have all the time. She is very much into the science of our body, and I'm very much into the you can think your way into it, out of it. I'm that like, what is it called? A placebo effect or something, whatever. So I do think on one level, what we speak, what we think is important to the health of our body. So I'm very much, about that. Now I am on the 10x health as well, so I take now the supplements and different things so that, you know, A, my wife can get off my back about it, and two, yeah, maybe if she believes it, you know, strongly, then sure, I'll give it a shot.
The science meaning like gut health or
gut health, you know, like how all, you know, your DNA breaks and you know your, I don't know, all the stuff.
neuroplasticity.
Yeah, I mean, you take a blood
talk to your wife. Can I meet your wife?
Yeah, totally.
She can actually be the next
She
guest,
can talk about this stuff all day.
Yes, I would love to have her on.
Yeah, well, have a conversation with her first. Like, she'll talk your ear off about that.
I'm gonna be like, hey, do you like Joe Dispenza? And she's gonna go off on it,
I mean, she's Joe Dispenza, like, big fan.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah.
Oh, we could totally be friends then.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I geek out on stuff like that too. I don't think to that level, but there's always curiosity into sciences of how we operate as human beings and how do I become better. And I think one of those decisions like happened earlier this year too, because I didn't realize I was an alcoholic until I was an alcoholic. And until,
denial.
Right? And I was like, oh, it's normal. And I think May 28th is like my official like 100 days of sobriety.
Oh, congratulations.
So it was just like, yeah, thank you. So it was just like a funny thing that I kind of sat and reflected in the last couple weeks on how my life changed. And I didn't really realize like that was part of addiction that like nobody talks about, because it looks normal. Like we're social creatures. I go to networking events. It's normal to have a beer here and there, right? But for me, it's like kind of all the time. And now I'm like, there's no drink in my hand. Like, what is going on?
Yeah.
And it just kind of became like a lifestyle shift for me, and it's just made me so much more mentally clear. You know. So what are some things that you do to keep yourself in the best shape besides the 10x supplements? And
so, you know, like I said, I'm a big believer about, you know, what you put into your body, like will definitely, like what you think about what you're putting in matters. So like if you eat something with guilt, it will probably affect you in a more negative way than if I just ate ice cream and enjoyed the heck out of the ice cream. It'd probably be good for my body. I don't know. Right? But if I'm like eating, I'm like, oh, I shouldn't be eating this, and I'm eating it, like that guilt part is, and I kind of just navigate like that. Like if I'm going to eat something, if I'm going to eat like something unhealthy, French fries or whatever, I enjoy the heck out of it. You know, I'll like sniff it. I'll be like, oh yeah, like I'll really, really enjoy it. You know, like that's just what I do. Like I'm not gonna feel guilty about it. And you know, my wife's kind of like the opposite. Like she'll feel real guilty about it, and then she'll eat it anyways, and then like kind of like break out and whatever. And I'm like, I don't know, just enjoy it instead. You know. So I also have quit drinking. So that is weird, you know, like when you every time you go out and you have a beer, and it's like it's weird not having it in your hands, or just be a little looser when you have like a drink, you know, something like that. So to actually not depend on that definitely created a big shift in my life. Like I'll go out with people and I won't drink. And it's cool. People don't really like, people are like, some people will try to peer pressure me a little bit, but it's not even a big deal for them. You know, it's just like ourselves, our own psychology around it. So I haven't drank in like 3 years. And so it's been really great because also when I drink, it leads to other things that aren't very smart. Either I spend a lot of money or I, you know, do some other dumb things.
You go on like a bender. What was it called? A binger or a bender? What is that proper?
And you feel like crap the next day. Like why put yourself through it, you know? And then I also don't eat meat. You know, I love animals. So like for me, it's if I did eat meat, like there would be a lot of guilt attached to it, you know, even though from what I remember, it tastes really good.
Yeah.
You know, and I used to love steaks and things like that, but now I just don't. And, you know, I feel pretty healthy. And then of course, like I think exercising is always a big part of it. You know, like keeping yourself active. Because as we get busy in life, the first thing we put aside is our exercise. You know, we don't have time to go to the gym. We don't have time to work out. And then we just kind of let ourselves go. And then it's harder to even get back into shape and get back into the gym. So, you know, working out, definitely got to make some time for that. And, I'm a big believer in coaches and
Mm-hmm.
mentors, so I have myself a personal trainer that keeps me accountable to go to the gym. Without my personal trainer, I try to go back to the gym so many times and it doesn't work.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because I'll go to the gym and I'll work out and I'll probably just work out the same parts. Like I'm always working out like bicep and chest. And then it's like, that's it. It's like every day is bicep day. And I never do legs. So like my trainer,
No.
women are the opposite. They're like always doing legs and stuff. So, working with my trainer, I actually complete my workouts because half the times I'll be like, I'm too tired for this. Now I'll just stop. I'll stop halfway if I went by myself. So having a coach, having a mentor, I think will always be able to take you beyond what you would do by yourself. Like we let ourselves off the hook way too much. So I think it's important to have a coach, have a mentor, and that's why I strive to be the best that I can be.
Yeah. How long has your plant-based journey been?
20 years.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Like pure vegetarian?
I'll eat fish on and off, and I'll eat eggs, but I won't like eat an actual like animal, red meat, something. Even chicken I won't eat.
Okay.
Yeah.
I share some of those values. I'm like 80-20 plant-based. Yeah. But I eat mainly like fish too.
Yeah.
Like salmon, shrimp, I have mainly every week.
Yeah.
Some tuna here and there.
Yeah. So that's cool.
And like maybe every couple quarters I'll have a steak.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's different. I would love, the only time I eat a really good steak is when I'm camping. It's just something about being in nature with the cast iron.
Oh God.
You become like this little creature of habit.
Yeah.
And it just tastes so much better or something like that. I think that's my guilty pleasure.
It is. It's the taste. It's the taste. It's nostalgia. And can we also break from those types of things where, because we have those relationships to money, we have those relationships to like love, like how we trust in relationships. Like, oh my God, I was at this mastermind this weekend and somebody was like, you get your heart broken and at some point you just get tired of having your heart broken and you just won't do it anymore. I'm not going to let you break my heart. And that's like what he said. And I was like, oh my God, like, all right, well, like what type of relationships do you want to have with people? You're always going to be keeping this distance away from people and it's never going to amount to nothing truly meaningful if you don't give it a chance.
I'm hearing that's like a really harsh projection of trauma.
It is, of course. And everybody's got trauma. Everybody's got money trauma. Everybody's got relationship trauma. But can you break from that, from the past, and give this a new chance?
Yeah.
That's the challenge for us. And that's what this is the personal development training that I was talking about is Neuro-Linguistic programming, which is NLP. And that's the type of coaching that I do. Yeah, I trained in that. I have certifications in it. Like I went through a lot going through that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I can't wait to hear more about that.
Oh.
Because I think the people that says like I can't give love a chance or something, again, it's trauma. But like I think since I started my healing journey too, because I was those people.
Yeah.
Like I'm not even gonna try to lie. Like I was those people where I was so armored up.
Yeah. Until
I kind of realized it's all a protection, where it's like false sense of security that you give to yourself by not opening your heart to others.
Yeah.
But in the last maybe year or so that I've learned to just like let everything go and just like kind of surrender, right, to the higher power of who I am and like who the universe wants me to be. Like that's when I fully stepped into my power and accepted that like I am this being that's like attracting things to me that are not hurt, that are not pain, or all of these betrayals that we the lies that we tell themselves of what people we perceive them to be, but they're not really, right? It's not everyone's here to hurt us. And I never was shaped that way. I was always conditioned to always protect myself.
Yeah.
And all of those things.
I think it's super important for us to shift our relationship to traumas. Like our perspective around traumas. Like traumas are not, they're not like gonna hurt. They're not there to just hurt you because God said, hey, you don't deserve it. It's literally, if you want to have a loving relationship, if you want to be financially free, you're going to have all of these things that show you where those things are not. Right? So they're lessons for you. They're showing you where love is not, but you have to look at it and take full accountability for everything. Like, I was the one that generated this relationship. I had a thinking of something, which, created the results of this relationship, or created me not having money and having no money in my bank account. Like there is something that you can own up to that you didn't do, right? Or that you did that made it happen. So, shifting that, like instead of carrying those traumas and using the traumas as an excuse not to do something anymore, using those traumas as learning devices. I want to go after it even more because I failed at it. Instead of because I failed, now I no longer want to ever do it.
Yeah.
So we have to change our relationship to those things, and that's it.
Yeah. Or just because you failed, now you have to do better because there's more people that you can help along the way.
Our traumas are actually designed, when we overcome our traumas, they are our calling of how we can serve humanity. If like when I wake up in the morning, this is a quote by Marianne Williamson that stays with me always, is every morning I wake up, I ask myself, okay, I got to remember that today I am going to contribute to the healing of the planet. And if I forget that that's what I'm doing, then I forgot why I'm even here. So everything that I do is an alignment to, am I contributing to the healing of people, of humanity? And if I can be here, if I can say yes to being on a podcast and sharing this, then awesome. I'm doing it. If I can have, every time I have an interaction with another person, here's my opportunity to do it.
Yeah. Wow. I'm still marinating in that.
Yeah. I mean, it took a while for me to find, to realize that this is my calling, that all of the traumas that I had around money, around love, around all of that is designed for me to use it to tell a better story, to be able to share and inspire others to keep going, to keep pushing forward.
Yeah, like if you can rewrite your own story, like others can too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad our path kind of aligned into this conversation too, because I didn't know how much we actually had in common until now.
Hey, great.
Oh, wow, that's crazy. Yeah, I just want to acknowledge you. Is there anything else you would like to share? Like you shared some really powerful stuff today that I'm still reflecting on. I know I'm going to be thinking about this for a while too.
Yeah. One last thing I would say is, I think the most powerful thing to be able to remind people is, and this is cliche, but it's deep, which is we all don't have infinite amount of time. If we can remind people of how important time is, then everything else is about saving time. Financial freedom is about time freedom. And we all have a finite amount of it. So anytime that when you go from point A to point B, if you can take a shortcut, do it. If you can find a mentor to help you, do it. Shorten the lessons, shorten the mistakes, and get there quicker.
Yeah, because you can make more time. No, you can make more money, but you can't make more time.
Yeah.
I think most people understand it backwards, right?
Yeah, and don't exchange time for money so easily. All right, like that's the value of everything we teach is in alignment to that.
Yeah. So thank you for sharing your most valuable resource with me today. Is your time?
You too. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks
and for all of you guys watching. Thank you for your time.
All right, thanks for tuning in to the Fit and Frugal podcast. Once again, I am your host, Tawni Nguyen. This is Alex. You can find him on IG at Alex Lovely, right?
At Alex Lovely.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you. See ya.